Howdy, howdy, and welcome back. It's another Workshop Wednesday, and today we are going beyond the basics with an introduction, in this case, to something called Regex, otherwise known as regular expressions. We're going to talk about that. First, if this is your first Workshop Wednesday, welcome. My name is Chris Mercer. I actually do go by Mercer, and I'm the co-founder here at measurementmarketing.io. Maybe you found us through the different podcasts and talks that I've given out there. Always looking, by the way, for more of those. So you can just go to measurementmarketing.io. You'll see a spot where you can sign up to have me part of your podcast if you'd like. And maybe you found us through the other sources that we've gone out there and helped train, like Digital Marketer, CXL Institute, or Social Media Examiner, countless courses out there. And then, of course, there are those of you who are already members of measurementmarketing.io, whether you're a Toolbox member, a Win Monthly Pass member, or an Academy member. Welcome all, and happy that you are here. Our job is to help people just like you learn how to use tools like analytics, like Tag Manager, like Data Studio, even Facebook analytics from time to time. And we're going to use the measurement marketing framework to do that. Really, those key 5 pillars, which are planning, figuring out what important questions are there that we got to get answers to so we can take some actions. Then there's the build out. Now, this is actually where you're going to use some Regex to make sure that you're actually recording the right information. Then there's the reporting, where you will also use regular expressions to actually make sure your reports are showing the right stuff, which, of course, when you actually have the right information, you can start to forecast and ultimately measure against your forecast so you can begin to optimize and tie the whole thing together. Now, with all of these trainings, you want to just focus on one new thing, one new concept, one new idea, and especially when it comes to Regex, it can get a little complicated. So we're only going to cover a few of the symbols, actually more than a few of the symbols, but give you the most useful ones I think that you'll use most of the time, at least the ones that we use most of the time. And then I'm going to give you some other resources where you can find some of the other ones as well. But with something like this, just if you're just starting out and you haven't even known what Regex is, but you hear kind of like curiosity, like what is this Regex thing? Just know what it is and kind of get that. If you've maybe seen it before, you've tried it before and it hasn't quite worked for you, maybe you'll pick up a thing or two about how we teach this so you actually start using Regex. But either way, just find one new concept, practice that. Then you come back, rewatch this workshop, you'll pick up something else along the way. All right, with that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. Beyond Basics, an introduction to Regex. All right, we're going to have diving right in, which is how we always like to start these things. I just love diving right in. We're going to start actually in the members area because there are a couple things I want to make sure to point out. First, for those of you that are already Win Monthly Pass or Academy members, whether you're Academy for freelancers or Academy for teams, know that there is an entire course that is back here for Regex, which is under the reporting wins. I believe, I'm sorry, it's under the strategy wins. You'll see it under win regular expressions right in here. So this is a deep dive into the different symbols and practices and homework and measurement missions and everything else you can play around with back here. So that's where I want you to go to really get a deep dive on this. We are, of course, going to cover the high level stuff in this single focus workshop, but I want to make sure that you know this is back here. Now, if you are either a Win Monthly Pass, Academy for Freelance, or Academy for Teams member, or a Toolbox member, which is the free membership, for those of you part of the Toolbox, you can come into Regex Heroes here. This is a guide that we have created that goes over the symbols of Regex, at least the ones you're going to use the most, and it'll kind of summarize some of what we talk about here. It's definitely a great companion guide for what is in Win regular expressions in our Win courses back there. So make sure you take a look at this. I want to make sure you know that it's back here. And again, even if you're a free member, a Toolbox member, you have access to this, so you can see this as well. So use this for reference. And again, if you're not a Toolbox member, you'll see how to do that at the end of this particular workshop. All right, so with that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about Regex. So when we're setting up a measurement of a simple site, let's say, measurementmarketing.io. So we're trying to set up the measurement for measurementmarketing.io. We're going to want to record certain things. We're going to want to set goals. We're going to want to measure and record certain information. We're going to want to display certain information. And that is where Regex really comes in helpful and handy. And you've probably, maybe, already come across this word, right? So we're going to focus on that first. And I'm just going to show some of the most popular places you're going to see it first, and then we'll dive in and start playing around with it. So when you're setting up a goal, one of the places that you will set up a goal and you have to decide, in fact, let me go to a view that we can actually set up some goals. I'm just going to play with some ones here. So if we go into a goal and we say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new goal. And one of the first things, it's calls test, it's a destination goal. And then you say, okay, equals to, begins with, and regular expression. So you will use regular expressions to say, oh, this page, but not that page, right? So that's kind of what regular expressions do. They help you to filter out the types of things, in this case, that would trigger a goal. Super, super useful. And you're going to see how we use them in certain goals that we have set up. Now, another spot you're going to see this might be in Tag Manager. Maybe you're playing around with Tag Manager and you go to set up a trigger and you want to set up a page view trigger when the container loads. And then you say, well, only on some page views and only when, a cookie or a page URL contains, let me just flip it to page URL here. So only when a page URL, you could say contains this thing or that thing or the other thing, or you could do regex. And you see matches regex where it doesn't matter what the title case is or does not match regex. So that's the same thing. Regex is regular expressions. So, just you understand that that's kind of the first lesson with regular expressions is understanding that people call them different things and spell them in different ways. But regex. So regex or regular expressions, same exact things. That's where you'll come across it in Tag Manager, just one of the spots. The other place is maybe in Data Studio. So you come in, you want to go to a table and you want to further filter a table. Well, you might come down to Data Studio. And again, this is not an exhaustive list of everywhere you're going to find regex, but I want you to see the places where you definitely will come across it, just so you're familiar with it. So you come down and say, okay, I want to include a field that is the source, and then condition. Look at that. Regex P match. Even Google spells regex different. So regular expressions, same thing. So you see that, matches this or contains that based on regular expressions. So what is this whole regular expression thing? Well, it's really a series of rules. And from here on out, we're actually going to use analytics because that is the thing that probably you are definitely using and you can play with. And everything that you learn in the Google Analytics platform when it comes to regex applies to the other platforms as well. So you take those same skills. I just wanted to show you that, yes, you're going to use it in Tag Manager. Yes, you're going to use it in Data Studio as well. So it's a helpful tool to help you say, yes, this page, but not that page, or yes, cookies that contain this, but not that. It's just a super easy way to filter through stuff. That's kind of what regex is. It's a language of filtering through things. So let's talk about kind of what that looks like. And I'm going to do this in a little test view that we have set up here, just so we can play around. So we're going to create a goal. And what I want to do is I want to be able to create a goal where we have a little bit of a funnel. So we're just going to be, this is my little test funnel. And we're going to go to destination because that's how you create funnel goals in Google Analytics. And we have equals to. So I could say, and I'm going to go to open up as a separate page here. This is just a little pro tip when it comes to analytics. Oops, we're going to all pages. Make sure that when you set goals, you're always setting the goals as they are, as your information's recorded in analytics, because you may change it from time to time. In fact, you should be changing it. Hopefully you'll see this one actually is changed. It's a test view, so I'm not sure, but let's find out. So what we're looking for is how the pages are being recorded, how our destinations are being recorded in Google Analytics. And lo and behold, perfect. We've already changed this view. So we've updated. So it shows for us, it shows the main site, right? Yours might show just a slash. If it's a home page, I would say that's an improvement that you have ahead of you to be able to use views and filters. Again, if you are that and you're already a member, just go to Win Google Analytics Setup and we'll talk about how to actually do that and create views. Make sure you got a production view, a testing view, set up your filters, all that fun stuff. Necessary step. But once you've got it set up, you'll have this nice little story back here that shows you all the different domains that you've got coming into your site. And so in this case, measurementmarketing.io is the home page. So if I come into Google Analytics and I set a goal that is equal to that, we're good, right? Because it's basically exact match. It's kind of how this comes into play. But this is how I shortcut how to think about equals to. It's kind of funny because you don't see this very often in other places. But equals to is essentially exact match. So it matches this and it won't fire the goal unless something else matched like that. But what happens when you want to do a funnel? So let's say, you want to create like a funnel visualization report of some sort. Well, you might come back and say, okay, well, I want to do, let's say step 1 is the home page. And then step 2, maybe I want to do, I'm going to set this required step to yes. So there's the home page and then there's the offer page. And then let's just say this is the thank you page, right? So we want to do the thank you page of some sort. Now I could do this two ways. I'm going to show you kind of where regex comes into play. We happen to name all our pages in a certain way, so I can easily pull up my fulfillment pages. So here's our thank you page for the toolkit. So I can go in there and pull this up. So I can say, okay, well, here's my page. I want to set a goal so that equals, whenever it equals this page. And what I could do is I could do that for every single step as I want to go through. Sometimes it's just a total pain to do that. So regex kind of comes to the rescue a little bit because I can come in here and flip this to regular expressions and say just when a page contains this. It's kind of like instead of begins with, which wouldn't work because these all begin with measurementmarketing.io, so I'd have to keep that in there. I can just use regex, which basically says, okay, if you find this phrasing in the thing that you're looking for, in this case the goal, if this little part is in any of the pages, then automatically fire the goal. That's kind of what regex does. In this case, it's just sort of filtering through. Now, what I might do is I want to say, well, the home page needs to be measurementmarketing.io. If I could even spell the company name at all. Holy cow, measurementmarketing.io. You'd think I'd never done that before. So there's measurementmarketing.io, and then, which I still didn't spell right. So there we go. That's it. Measurementmarketing.io. Yay me. So then the offer page, let's just say this is the toolbox offer, which for us is going to be this right here. So I'm going to pull this up. And I'm going to keep it in here. Instead of putting the entire thing in, I'm just going to put in the toolbox. So it's like, we kind of code our things like this. So I say, oh, here's a landing page and it's the toolbox. Well, with regular expression, it's pretty easy to do this because I can say, well, whenever you see a page which contains this stuff, is kind of how I read this, then it'll fire the goal. Whenever the home page, right, the step 1 contains measurementmarketing.io, it's gonna know that somebody hit step 1. Whenever they see the offer page, which contains this stuff, in this case, which identifies that as the toolbox offer page, it'll also fire that particular step. The problem right now is regex, actually, this totally will work for regex. The problem is this step. So if I say homepage of measurementmarketing.io, anything that essentially contains, right, it's sort of how you can read this, if it contains this, well, the problem is all of my pages contain that, right? So if we go back to all pages, or at least the vast majority of them, contain measurementmarketing.io because they all start with that. So it would fire, that step 1 step would fire every single time. So what I want it to do is only when they come to measurementmarketing.io. And that's it. So only when they come to the home page. And so how do I define the home page? Well, there's actually a series of symbols that you can use. And I'm gonna reference our Regex Heroes Guide a little bit here to sort of help you visualize some of this. And I'm not going to go through this in detail, but I want you to see it. Is you have this character, this little $sign, character that you'll use a lot. It's the stop sign. It basically tells regex stop there, only this. So that's what a $sign is. So if you go back, the way you would use this is I could say, and again, I would come back and I would say measurementmarketing.io/, because that's how my reports are created, right? Measurementmarketing.io. So I would come here, I would do measurementmarketing.io/, because that's what's stored in my Google Analytics. If you didn't have it ending / then you would put that in there. But I'm going to keep the / in. And then you say $sign, which means stop there. Now, why does that $sign not look for a $sign? It's because regex is turned on, which means this $sign now has powers. It is a superhero. It is doing work for us. Hence the Regex Heroes Guide. So it becomes a superhero. So I can actually go through and say, okay, in this case, go look for this particular thing and only this particular thing. And now I'll have a funnel that I can use as a goal funnel that says, okay, start at the home page, then go to the toolbox, and then when they get to the thank you page and show me that report. So I can build a funnel that way. Now, of course, we're not going to set all this up because it's not a deep dive into how to set up analytics or funnels, but I want to show you how you can start using regex to actually get through some things in analytics. And this is a really good way to practice regex. So I'm going to come into this advanced section here. So I'm just in my all pages report. This is the one I suggest you play with because it's the one that you can sort of see right in front of you. And you can practice these different symbols. So I'm going to go to advanced and we're going to test this. So I go include pages, which instead of contain, because everything's going to contain that, I want to say just regex, matches regex. And then we're going to paste that in. So I've got measurement marketing in this case. So measurementmarketing.io /$sign. Now what this should do, and this is a very important measurement pro tip, when you are doing this stuff, you always think, okay, here's my setup. Before you do the thing, before you test the thing you're about to test, always think to yourself, what should happen? What's about to happen? And that's how you can then measure against what actually does happen and make sure kind of where you're not. It helps you out with debugging quite a bit. So we're going to say include pages which contain this. What should happen is I just see this. I just see this one page and that's it. All these other pages go away because I just want to see my home page. So I'm going to click on apply and we're going to see if we're right. And we are not right. Now, why is that? Well, it's because this particular view has these filtered in there where they contain this $sign. And so in this case, if I click on this URL just to isolate it, you can see it has this, and then it has this stuff, and then it also has this and stops. So the regex that we set up, I'm going to have to go back here. pull a little regex that we had. The regex that we had set up said, well, if this, remember, this is kind of contains. Think about regex as contains, but you can do an additional thing. In this case, it says stop, right? So stop with that $ is what that did. So we edit undo here. So measurement marketing. Wish I could get you to see all this. It's a little tougher with this long domain name that we have. But measurement marketing and then end it with a $. So that's why this pulled up, this pulled up, this pulled up, and this pulled up. Because they all technically do that. So even this old MMIO site has the $. It still technically fits. Because it basically says if it contains this is what regex says. If it contains all this stuff, right, and then has the superhero, which is the $, which means it stops it there. That's the end. That's how it finishes. Then return back. And that's why we got all this in there. This is why we test. Because what we were hoping for was just this, just the home page. But we got was all this extra stuff. So what do? Well, this is where we use the start symbol. So if you go back to regex, you'll see it says start and stop. So I can tell regex, here's the exact thing I want you to see. I want you to start, filtering when this stuff happens. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back into analytics. And again, I think a lot of ways to do this is to practice this. You're going to have to play along at home when you're doing this. So you say start, little caret symbol, shift 6 for those of you looking for that. So it's a little caret symbol, and it says start by, it has to start with M, then be followed by E, then be followed by A, then be followed by S, then be followed by U, et cetera, all the way through. You write the dot, the I, the O, all the way to the $. And then it stops there. So it has to end with a slash. So what this says is it has to start with M, and then everything has to be the true in there, and then it ends with a slash. So now when we click on apply, what we should have is just this one. Because these technically do start with M. Actually, technically, what we should see is this actually does happen, but it doesn't stop here at the end. So I think this one should go away, this one should go away, this one should go away. Because these for sure won't go away because they don't start with M, right? So let's find out. We're going to click on apply. What we should see is our home page. Let's see if it works. Yes, we get them all. We just see the home page now. So this is what I would do is I would come back here and I say, okay, well, now that I figured that out, I'm going to copy this, and you go back to your goal, and I would change my goal to say this is the homepage. It starts with measurementmarketing.io / and then stops there. That's how I know it's a homepage. And I'm telling analytics, go into your database and make step 1 only when that thing shows up. So that's how you can use regex with goals, right, in Google Analytics. Now, I'm going to stay in this report, in our source media report, because it's useful for learning and practicing regular expressions to see kind of how you get through things. What if I wanted to see all of my pages that had this ref equals upgrade thing? Okay, so I wanted to see all the pages, or just their little ref parameter, ref parameter, that's here. Well, what I could do, and again, I would always try to do the good enough to get going approach, and I think in this case it probably would work. If I just typed in ref, it would show all the stuff that has ref parameters, which it kind of does. But it's also going to show anything, because remember, this the way that this works without anything else, it's kind of, think about it like contains. It's just, anything that contains the word ref. So if I had a reference in here as a word, ref would be in there and it would count. So in this case, there's one way to get to it, but I want to use regex. I want to show you how to use regex for it. So instead of just looking for ref, which again, for us might work, right? Might work the way that our setup is, but if we ever have -referral ref would be in that word referral, and it would pull up fake stuff that we don't really want. So in fact, there's 282 other pages here, so maybe there are some in there. So what I really want to do is I really want to make sure that it's the $ref. So the way that we do that is we do $, and then ref, and then equals, right? So I can do this and say, just look for $ref equals. And then what I have to do, and I know this is going to sound complicated because regex this is why this is beyond basics, and this is why I have an entire course just for regex, because I don't know that you'll really get it all in one particular workshop. But you have to, this $, is actually a regex symbol. This is the confusing part with people, because they think, oh, I'm just going to do this little regex thing, and it kind of works sometimes, and it kind of doesn't work sometimes, and that's the problem with this character. Is because sometimes your results are going to be what you expect. Oops, that's not what I wanted. We're going to do $ref equals. I'm going to hit enter, and I'm going to pull up again. What do we think is going to happen? It's going to pull up all of my little ref characters, right? And it says, okay, invalid regular expression. The reason it's invalid is because I'm using that $, and the $, is in fact a regular expression, which we don't want. So what I have to do is I have to tell Google Analytics, ignore the fact that so instead of looking for the $, as kind of like using the regex powers, which it has here, and I just want to show you where this is. So this is a $. Question mark has a power. It basically says the character before the $, is optional, right? But it's confusing the system, and you'll see stuff like that. You're going to run into things where you think it works really well, and you're like, wait, why is this not working? Let me close this out. So instead, we use kryptonite. Kryptonite removes the superhero's powers, and now it's just going to look for a question mark, and that's it. So now we're going to go to matches regex. We're going to take a little backslash, which put in front of a question mark. And again, huge pro tip, if you're looking for something that is a parameter with a question mark, you have to do this. It's not optional. If you're using regex, you have to escape it out. It's called escaping it out. We call it kryptonite because it removes the superpower of the question mark and makes it just a regular question mark that analytics looks for. So we're going to click on apply. And now what this should show is all these little reference, which we have, right? Reference equals with everything else. Now, what if I just want to see the reference little things here, little referral tabs, these little referral parameters that we've set in here, but I just want to see the upgrade and I just want to see the home. I don't want to see all these nav ones that are in here. How would I do that? Well, I can use regex for that. So what I can do is use something called the OR bar. And I'm going to use two different things just to make it easier to read. And think about like algebra, because I know math. But here we go. You can do something called grouping, which is parentheses, right? Just like parentheses group stuff together in math. They can group regular expressions together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, well, I want you to go look for this question mark, which is why we use the kryptonite to escape out the question mark. So we say, just look for the question mark. And that's what this does. You have to have both of these symbols, both the backslash and the question mark, to tell Google Analytics to go find the question mark. Then go look for ref, which is ref, and then the equal sign, which is the equal sign, of course. Then in there, I want you to only show me if it says upgrade, or actually, you know what? I'm just going to do upgrade because we'll just show you this step at a time. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out these parentheses so that you can see it. So we're going to say upgrade, and it should just show me upgrade, ref equals upgrade. That's it, which it does. Here are the two URLs where that contains. But the other one I want to see is home. Now, of course, I could create a whole new report, change this word to home and do that. I could also say, and show me pages which contain home. So there's lots of different ways to do this. But with regex, I can group these and I can say, show me upgrade. I'm going to do a little parentheses here. And then or, and this is the cool symbol, it's the vertical pipe. So I'm going to put some spaces in here so you can see that. It's a little hard to see. But this is the vertical pipe right here. So you hit shift and then backslash. So the same thing you did to get this there, right? The same symbol there. Right above that is the vertical pipe. Shift and backslash gets you this. What this means is or. It's regex for or. So it's upgrade or home. And now that's what I'm doing. And all I'm doing is I'm just kind of grouping this. It makes it a little easier to read. And in most cases, this will get you done what you need to do. So again, basic beginner regex that we're starting with. And I realize as I'm saying that, some of you are like, oh my gosh, this is so complicated. And it can be. Don't get me wrong. I don't want to sit here and lie to you and say like, yeah, this is totally intuitive and you just need to see it once and you'll pick it up. It's a lot of trial and error. Which again is why we created the Win course. And even if you're just a Toolbox member, still go through the guide, the Regex Heroes Guide, because it'll walk you through, or at least a reference of how to use this. There's nothing that will beat you practicing it though. You got to get in here and ride the bike, right? You can't watch me ride a bike and learn how to ride a bike better. You got to get in and practice. I personally recommend doing it with this way, with the site content all pages report, so you can play around, right? And kind of see what works and what doesn't. So here I've got page matches regex. Now what it should happen is I should see the ref equals stuff come back, this time with anything that says upgrade or, which is the or bar right in there, or home. So let's go ahead and click on apply and see if we do. And we do. So now again, ref equals upgrade. There's home, there's home, there's home. I don't see the navs anywhere, which is good. That's not what I want. So this is just the stuff that I'm looking for. So that's how you use regex to basically filter through things that you're looking for. They can help you with the reports and everything else. So Data Studio, you can filter that. Analytics custom reports, you can filter that. You can obviously use it here in the advanced filter box. You can use it for segments when you're creating segments in Google Analytics, or of course, triggers in Tag Manager and say, well, when the page contains a question mark or something else. So you have that. Now, the other thing that we could do is I could set up, and I'm going to see if this is even a thing that we have, because I don't know that it is, but I'm going to test it. So let's say we start with our homepage, and we bring that one back. So I'm going to say start by looking for measurement marketing in the URL, measurementmarketing.io/ and then that's it. Actually, just that. I'm going to say that. And again, I don't know if we actually have this, but here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put in some spaces here so you can see it's a little easier as I type it in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to group it. I'm going to say $, which means, of course, end, right? Means just that. Or, which is what I'm really going to add in here. We're going to say, or a question mark. So how do I do a question mark? To actually say to look for a question mark, you have to do the backslash. Oops, I did a /. We should do a backslash. There we go. So this basically says, hey, go look for the homepage of measurementmarketing.io if it just has that. But what if measurementmarketing.io had like a ref equals to it? Well, the $ would stop it. It wouldn't show up. But this basically says it either has to end with measurementmarketing.io / right? That little slash has to be at the end of that, or it has to be a question mark, which would presume it does some sort of parameter. So you do something like this. So this is what the whole regex looks like. So it starts with measurementmarketing.io or whatever in this case your homepage would be. Then it ends with either a $ or a question mark. That's what the regex is in this case. So we're going to click on apply. And again, I actually don't know that this is going to show up specifically with anything. And look at that. It did. Perfect. That's exactly what I wanted. So remember, when we did the $ before, we just saw this page and we didn't see all these other home pages. Look at this. All these other home pages with parameters. And why did we not see these other home pages with parameters? It was because we did not have the question mark in there. So we just said, hey, look for the $, which means end at the home page. But it said, oh, actually, there's a lot of extra stuff here. All these little parameters, all these little ref things that came through. So we want those. So that's what this does. So again, it's a $ or / because we want the kryptonite to take away the power of the question mark, because question marks have they're a superhero in regex, so we got to give it some kryptonite and then do that. So $, let me get it a little easier for you to see it. $ or / question mark basically says, hey, it either ends with this final character of the slash or a question mark. That's what that means. So that's another way that you can use regex. Now, something else that you might use in Tag Manager. I'm going to use Tag Manager for this in particular. Let's say you wanted to, I don't know. Let's go through and take a look at a trigger of some sort here. Let's say we were doing a scroll depth trigger and you wanted it to fire on some pages. Actually, this is probably not going to be the best example, but I think you'll get the idea. If I wanted to say any page at all, I could obviously in this case just say all pages with a trigger, right? But sometimes there'll be a thing in Tag Manager where you need to have a wildcard, where you need it to be like anytime at all, I want this to happen. So you know what? I'm going to back up. We're not going to do it in Tag Manager. That will come a time where you're going to use this. I think it's a little more advanced. You will absolutely use it in Tag Manager, and you'll use it in Tag Manager first. I'm going to show you this. So in Tag Manager, I'm going to go to the admin screen, and I'm going to talk about filters. Now, I'm not going to be a deep dive on how to set up filters, but I want to show you that you should, for sure, be setting up filters and views. But one of the filters you will inevitably set up should be your show domain filter. This is how we get the entire domain there. And you'll notice here this weirdness that looks back here. Well, these is regex, right? These are all regex symbols. So now you know, basically, these parentheses essentially group stuff, just like in math. They kind of group things together and say, hey, work on what's in here. But what does the $* do? The $* combination, and it has to be both, the $* combination means anything. It's a wildcard. And that's regex for wildcard, right? Just grab anything. So what this basically does, this filter, and all of these by default are regex, this basically says, hey, go grab what's in this in these two fields in particular. Go grab the host name, which means this part of the URL. So go into the host name, grab whatever is there. Technically, it's this part right here that it grabs, which is the subdomain, the root domain, the top level domain, right? So you have all of those. Then, so grab it all, then grab the request URI. Also, same thing. It means grab anything, grab everything that's there. It's a wildcard. It means doesn't matter. Grab whatever's there. So then it goes through and it grabs all of this from the / on. So all of this, the request URI. And then what this filter does is actually put those two things together. This is the constructor. It doesn't really have much to do with regex here. This part is the regex. So you have that. Other ways that you will use regex, let me see if I can get another filter. Now this is a much more complicated way of using regex. We're not going to break this one down for you, but I wanted to show you kind of like some of the stuff where you might be like, oh, okay. Actually, this one, kind of a good one. Facebook, this is a simple one. Combines everything that you and I have learned together today, technically. So this says Facebook. So I'm going to go grab, remember, read through this with me. So I'm going to say start. Remember this little shift 6 means start. So start where there is anything at all. That's the $, little wildcard. So start where anything is there. Doesn't really matter. As long as it is then followed by F, then A, then C, then E, all the way to facebook.com, and then ends there. So this basically will grab anything like facebook.com, l.facebook.com, lm.facebook.com, etc. It grabs all that stuff. Now, why do we want to do that? I'm going to show you why in a second. just as a little pro tip, because this is kind of a fun one to do. And I think you should also do this in your own setups. So this will grab anything like M dot, all that junk that Facebook sends your way. Same thing with Pinterest, Instagram, everything else. You can set these up for those. In this case, just Facebook, and it replaces it just with the word Facebook. Now, why would we want to do something like that? Well, let's find out. If I go to my reports, and again, that's using Regex to do that. So I can go to my reports. I go to source medium, and I can say, what are my different traffic sources? Well, I can come back here. Let's expand out over some time and say, okay, I want to go look at my Facebook traffic. My Facebook traffic is probably going to look a little cleaner than yours. Not always, but mostly. In this case, it does. Facebook, CPC, paid traffic. So I know my source is Facebook, there's paid traffic. My source of Facebook, there's referral traffic, which is untagged traffic. My source coming from Facebook is share. This is the stuff that we put in Facebook that we did not boost or put any money behind. So I can see the different types of traffic, 3 different types: paid, the share stuff that we do, and then the referral, which is untagged traffic, maybe people sharing the stuff on their own, all coming from Facebook. It's nice, it's clean, it's organized. Yay, Regex. That's why we can do that. With that filter, right? Using Regex with that filter helps us to do that. Now, what does yours probably look like? This is what I would probably venture to say it does look like. I'm going to flip to a different view, which I know does not have this filter on it. It's another reason why I use filters. Probably looks like this, where you have m.facebook.com, facebook.com, l.facebook.com, and then probably lm.facebook.com is back here, right? Instagram does this. Pinterest does this. Like, it's crazy. But this is because they're going through different servers on the way and, helping protect their users, with malware scans and all that fun stuff. So this is how it comes through. But I don't want to know that came from facebook.com when I'm tagging my traffic with Facebook. So I want to combine everything. And that's why we did that filter. All I did is I flipped to a different view that uses that filter. So it's pretty cool what you can do. And it cleans everything up. So it's kind of, instead of a fractured reporting that you have back there, it's all clean. That is because of Regex. That is the only way that you can do that, is learning a little bit of Regex. And it doesn't take much. You just practice the $, which means stop here. You practice that, escape clause, the escape question mark things. That means that's how you find a question mark when using Regex. Use the OR bar, right? Use the start, use the wildcard, use parentheses. Like, those symbols alone will cover 80 to 85% of everything you'll ever need when it comes to Regex. Now, finally, I'm going to show you a fairly complicated one. I think this will be a fairly complicated one. I hope it will. And it's just honestly to show you, like, when you see stuff like this, you go, okay, cool, this is Regex. You don't need to learn how to go through this today, but I want you to be able to see it. And let me see if I can figure out which one of these it was. So give me just a second as we go through and process this one, I believe. I actually simplified this one already. I thought I had a more complicated way of doing this. This one removes parameters. So if you're wondering, like, how did I get views that don't have parameters and views that do? This is how you do it. You basically say, hey, look for a question mark, which is the \question mark. Go grab everything after that. So basically return back with the question mark and anything else that comes after that, because this .star is a wildcard, replace it with nothing. And that's how you get no parameters. So all the parameters get removed off URLs, and URLs become easier to read. Again, what does that look like? And this is where we're going to end it, so I'll let you see. If I go to site content, all pages, and I just look at my all of these different pages, you don't see these little ref things anywhere, right? So I can't even look for the word or the parameter of ref like the old way I used to try to do, because it doesn't exist, because those parameters are all scraped off, right? They're all combined. All the pages are combined. I just see toolbox in this case. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at the toolbox page and say just what the toolbox page looks like. That's it. It's all combined. All these page views are combined. In this other view that has the parameter still, where I did not use that filter using Regex, I will come through and I'm going to click on all pages. And we're going to click in, I'm just going to type in here lp/toolbox/ so we can see the toolbox page. And you'll see here's the toolbox, but here's all the other variations of the toolbox with different parameters through. So this particular view has all the parameters in it. The other view does not. It's because I'm using a filter that removes the parameters. And the only reason I can use that is Regex. So just to give you an idea of some of why you want to learn Regex, this isn't an optional thing. It is in the beginning. If you're just starting out and you're just learning this stuff, you shouldn't even be here. I'll be honest. Like, just take this and be like, okay, it's cool. I don't know how I got here, but I'm going to back up slowly. Come back to this workshop later, because now's not the time. This is a Beyond Basics workshop. But if you've been around for a while, you've been using analytics, maybe you're starting to play around with Tag Manager, maybe you even know Tag Manager a little bit, you will get to a point where Regex will help you to do these things that you need to get done, or at least you're going to have to understand what it is instead of just copying and pasting people's stuff. You can start to understand what Regex is telling you. So hopefully with this workshop, you got a chance to be able to do that. And remember, if you need additional help, if you're a Win Courses member, just go to Win Regular Expressions, and Win Monthly Pass members can do that, as well as Academy members, both Academy for teams and Academy for freelancers. You have that in there. So absolutely take advantage of this, because it does a much better job of teaching everything, and it goes very slow through everything. And of course, you also have Ask Instructor support, so you can ask our instructors if you need help, and we'll walk you through it. Then, if you're a Toolbox member, you have Regex Heroes, as well as, of course, Win Monthly Pass and Academy members having that. So you can go to Regex Heroes, and you can kind of get a reference guide of what each character does. You'll also notice there's different characters. There's square brackets, there's dashes, there's different ways to use plus signs and parentheses and braces and everything else that's through here. So there's a little kryptonite backslash. So there's lots of cool stuff that's back here when it comes to Regex. It's up to you to actually practice it. So with that, we'll go ahead and bring this one to a close. What was your one thing? Was it the fact that Regex is even a thing? Maybe it was how to see different Regex. Maybe it was just the fact that you've copied and pasted this stuff from someplace else, maybe even ourselves, and you've built these views and filters, but you really had no idea what it was doing. I get that. I was exactly that spot years ago, and you weren't quite sure what it was, but now you can kind of read it a little bit, and you get the idea of what it's trying to do and how it's working. Well, that makes you better at Regex. Just doing that makes you better at Regex. And of course, for those of you that are members, in terms of Win Monthly Pass or Academy freelancers or Academy teams, you have access to Ask Instructor support. So you can always get help and say, hey, I'm trying to figure out this Regex thing. How would I do it? Our instructors just send us a screenshot or a video, and our instructors will send you screenshots and videos back so we can get you unstuck. Speaking of, if you are not yet a member, this page is our courses. So you can kind of learn more about the different Kickstarter packs that we've got. If you want to learn a specific platform like Analytics, Tag Manager, Data Studio, or just strategy in general, personally, I recommend you becoming a Win Monthly Pass member. It is the absolute best deal. And measure.tip/courses will take you there so you can learn all about that. Win Monthly Pass gives you access to all of them. It's kind of an all-you-can-eat plan. We do new Win courses about every 4 to 6 weeks on average. So there's always something back there for you. If you are interested, we do have another workshop coming up next week for Workshop Wednesday. Now, this one is a strategy session because every week we rotate the topic. This week's was a Beyond Basics. Next week, we're going to go into strategy stuff. And that's talking to those of you who really need to know how to use this stuff, but you're not necessarily the one building it all. So you, as a strategy person, will never use Regex. So if you didn't get it all, don't worry about it. Just know that it's a thing. But next week, it's going to be for you, 5 reports in Google Analytics that grow your business. So I'm going to show you those reports and how to actually use them so you can get some insights and actions, more importantly. Who cares about insights? I hate that word. It's actions that we can actually take that lead to results. That's what we care about. So I'm going to show you how to use those reports for that. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you want to make sure you get notification, the only way you're going to do that is if you subscribe. So please take a second to do that. What do the kids say? Smash the bell, ring the bell. I don't know what the new things are. I'm too old for that, but I tell you, here we are. Subscribe. Okay. The other way that you can get this, and I've mentioned this a few times for those of you that are already the Toolbox members, it is a free membership. So Measurement Marketing Toolbox, it is back there. It includes these workshops. So you see every week there's a new workshop for you back there. You've got the traffic tracking toolkit. You've got all the different tools that you saw that we covered. In fact, it's all free, and it's this tool. It's all of these tools that are back here. There's a bunch of tools that are back here that you get access to, and all of these we've developed on our own. So there's nowhere else to find them except in our members area. And it's a Toolbox membership. It's completely free. So I highly suggest if you are not yet a member of measurementmarketing.io, at least a Toolbox member, completely free. Take advantage of that. Go to measure.tip/WW, and that will activate your free Toolbox membership. Just type in your name and email. We'll send you your login details. You'll have access to everything, including the Regex Heroes Guide, so you can go through that. Again, measure.tips/WW. All right. With that, we'll go ahead and bring this one officially to a close. This has been Beyond Basics, an introduction to Regex. Thanks again for watching this workshop, and we will see you on the next one. Take care.